kid, I saw my first UFO at 12 years old. I was with Boy Scout camp and with three other guys. So there's four of us. Four of us kids were taking a shortcut up to where our troop was camped out. And this is Camp Horseshoe, Rising Sun, Maryland. I could take you right to the spot today. And it's like a dry creek, and we're hopping over these rocks and stuff. And the lead guy, I'm the last boy. And number one boy goes, "Wow, what's that?" And he points up that way. And the other two boys go, "Wow, what is that?" And I go, "Where?" And they go, "There." And above, about just like this, exactly like this. So I'm here, a little kid, looking up at this flying disc, hovering, the sun's glinting off of it just like that. Ding, ding. And it's just sitting there. We watched it maybe 20 seconds, and it just goes like this, straight up.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Sensible Hippie podcast. I'm your host, the Sensible Hippie. Today we're diving into a topic that's as mysterious as it is captivating. My special guest today is L.A. Marzulli. Known for his groundbreaking documentaries, L.A. has captivated audiences with his deep dive into the supernatural and UFO phenomena. In today's episode, L.A. sheds new light on this decades-old mystery, offering insight that challenges the status quo. Before we bring L.A. into the conversation, I want to take a moment to thank all of you, my amazing listeners, for your continued support. Your review and follows mean the world to me, and it helps keep this show growing. So if you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a positive review. Now, without further ado, let's welcome L.A. Marzulli to uncover the truth behind the Roswell saga. Let's get started.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection. Headline edition will bring you special reports and interviews in a moment.
Oh, thank you very much for taking the time to do this. I didn't know you were on a trip.
No worries.
Oh, thank you. I want to thank you very much, LA, for coming on to this show. You have been a forefront of exploring the unknown for years, traveling the world and diving into some of the most intriguing mysteries out there. And I'm particularly excited about today's conversation because I want to dive into what you have been talking about lately is the Roswell crash. And, that's a topic I think that has a lot of speculations and countless theories. And Roswell is often seen as a starting point for ufology and the beginning of many theories of government cover-ups. And it's a topic that I have yet to talk about. So I'm really excited to explore this with you today. So can you, I guess, what initially drew you to investigate these mysteries around Roswell?
Well, I mean, I've been a ufologist ever since I was a kid. I saw my first UFO at 12 years old. I was with Boy Scout camp and with three other guys. So there's four of us. Four of us kids were taking a shortcut up to where our troop was camped out. And this is Camp Horseshoe, Rising Sun, Maryland. I could take you right to the spot today. And it's like a dry creek, and we're hopping over these rocks and stuff. And the lead guy, I'm the last boy. And number one boy goes, "Wow, what's that?" And he points up that way. The other two boys go, "Wow, what is that?" And I go, "Where?" And they go, "There." And above, about just like this, exactly like this. So I'm here, a little kid, looking up at this flying disc, hovering, the sun's glinting off of it just like that. Ding, ding. And it's just sitting there. We watched it maybe 20 seconds, and it just goes like this, straight up. We go running back. We saw a flying saucer. We saw a UFO. All the kids are around us, the scoutmasters. By the evening meal, the other three boys denied that they had ever seen anything. Oh, yeah. It was my first lesson in herd mentality, life lesson, herd mentality, and the way people will will lie, look right at you and lie because they want to be part of the herd. And I just went, I know what I saw. And that was the end of that. And it would be decades later in my 50s when my wife and I saw a UFO right over Pacific Coast Highway, which was unbelievable. And then another one later on, probably 2020, which was this. We were driving on the John Kilpatrick Freeway in Oklahoma. And all of a sudden, I'm driving, my wife's on the passenger seat, and she goes, "Wow, what's that?" And I look over, and it's this light. There's no houses around. We're below where the city is. Okay, so the city's at this elevation. We're down here someplace, and I go, "Oh, it's probably just one of those spotlights from a car dealership that's trying to, garner business." No way, no way. The car dealerships are miles away. It's UFO brain fog because you're trying to rationalize something in a way that you can, handle what you're looking at. And this thing paced us like this, right above the treetops. It was just light. We never saw a craft. And Peggy goes, "I think we need to pray." So here I am, Mr. Rebuke first, ask questions later. And it's my wife who goes, "Maybe we should be rebuking first and asking questions later." So we prayed, and the moment we said in Jesus' name, I'm not making this up, bam, it was gone just like that. So I've been involved in this professionally since 1990. But I've been a lifelong student of the occult, of the arcane, of all things that have to do with the supernatural. I became a Christian 44 years ago, and that was that is the paradigm that I operate under now. But that changed my life 44 years ago, completely changed my life. And now we've got, in fact, my business partner flies in tomorrow, and we'll be putting the final touches on the last two films in the 10-part series on UFOs. So Roswell started it all, 1947, late June, early July. That's ground zero here in the States. A few weeks prior to that, Kenneth Arnold sighted a flotilla, a group of UFOs while he was flying up around Mount Rainier, and called them flying saucers because they looked like two saucers inverted, basically like that. It's a great little prop, huh? But it's,
Yeah.
a few weeks later, the Roswell incident happens, and the Army, the RAAF, the 509th Bombing Group, which at the time was the only nuclear capable bombing group on the planet. These guys dropped Hiroshima, the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So they're there, and the rancher Mac Brazel comes into town. Something crashed on my farm, or not my farm, my ranch here, and this is out in the middle of nowhere. This is free range cattle, and in 47, it's way out there. I mean, it's out there now. I was just there last year. I was just there, and it's very, very, very remote, even now in modernity. But back then, it's like, it's unbelievable. Good luck trying to find it. And the sheriff goes, "You better take us over to the 509th. It might be something that they need to look into." Enter Jesse Marcel Sr., the 509th intelligence officer, real smart guy, knows exactly what's out there, knows what the Russians have, the Chicons have, what we have, what the Germans had. This guy knows. And he drives out with Mac Brazel. You couldn't find the place unless Brazel would take you there. That's how remote it was. And he's picking up pieces of this wreckage. It's unlike anything he's ever seen. He brings it home. He wakes his wife and son up, Jesse Marcel Jr. and his wife. It's on the kitchen table, on the floor. They're looking and handling pieces of the wreckage, and they've never seen anything like it. He takes it all back up, goes back to the base. Enter Walter G. Hout, which was the communications guy. He goes to the paper. RAF captures flying saucer. That's what July 8th is. Ramey gets a hold of this. Well, first of all, the phone lines light up, and the powers that be put the kibosh on it. And this is where the weather balloon story comes into play, which is complete nonsense. Completely, they had it right the first time. They told the truth the first time, and then they redacted everything. And here we are. And now, what was it, 2 weeks ago now? Admiral Ryder gives this whole deal about, Arrow looked at everything and there's absolutely nothing to see. No technology, nothing was recovered, and everybody's going, wrong. This guy's just, I don't know the man. Is he lying? Probably not. He's telling the truth as he knows it. But even Arrow is given, just look at this, don't look at all the recovered crash. I mean, there's too many whistleblowers. The thing's out of the bag. We went out to the debris field and we found two pieces of metal buried 6 to 8 inches in the ground. We had the metal tested. Thanks Chuck Sikowski. Thanks to Frank Kimbler. Frank found both of them. But Chuck was out there with his metal detector. Frank Kimbler had his metal detector out in the middle of nowhere in the debris field. They didn't get it all. And we had the metal tested. And essentially, it's an aluminum 7000 series, but it's not an exact match. The alloy is not, the molecular structure isn't the same. The metaller just looked at the metal and said, whatever this is has gone through some sort of traumatic event, because there's high scorch marks on this thing. Gee, sounds like a UFO crash to me. And what's an aluminum 7000 series doing buried in the middle of nowhere in the debris field? And get this, that 7000 series was not invented till 1953. So let me get this straight. Unless you got a bunch of guys out there with an aluminum beer can, a kegger, and they're smashing up the kegger and with blowtorches and everything else, and then burying it in the ground, what are we looking at here? And that's the deal. Roswell was 47. This alloy wasn't invented till 53, and it's not an exact match. Come on, guys. I mean, how much do we have to do before you stop lying to the American people and to the world? We all know what's going on, and you guys, just all you do is deliberately obfuscate. So the film Exoneration was created to clear the Marcel name. The whole film is based on clearing Jesse Marcel Sr., Jesse Marcel Jr., and the Marcel name. Marcel was a patsy. I call Marcel the Lee Harvey Oswald of ufology, because that's exactly what he was. He's trotted out. He's told basically, don't say anything. General Ramey's there, and Ramey's going, nothing to see here. Stop talking about it. Just a weather balloon. And Marcel's like this, looking up at Ramey. And in our film, we have a clip from him before he died, and he basically says, but we knew differently. Speaking of him and Ramey, there was a meeting, and Ramey was there, Marcel was there, Hout was there, and a bunch of other people. They're passing the records around on a table. They all knew it. And this was the cover story. And all the material was flown to Wright-Patterson Field. In the film, in the debris field, we sit down with Dennis Balthauser, who's a ufologist and has been all over Roswell for decades. And he talks about, I forget the airman's name, it's Pappy something. But this guy came on the record and he flew the bodies and the wreckage to Wright-Patterson. I mean, how many people have to come on the record? In the film, we show Walter G. Hout, okay? It's a deathbed affidavit, not to be opened until the time of his death. This is real investigative journalism. And we show this in the film. Basically, he's saying that, yeah, there was a meeting. I was there. Ramey was there. We're passing all the stuff around the table. They took me to Hangar 84. I saw the craft. I saw the bodies. I mean, he's not making this up. And it's sealed until the time of his death. We have a testimony from Colonel Hill in the film, who was OSS, that's the forerunner of the CIA, deathbed confession. He dies a month after rather, he gives the testimony. He was flown to Roswell because he was an interrogator. He tried to communicate with the one body that was still alive and couldn't do it. He tells exactly what they look like. I mean, this is real investigative journalism. It blows the cover off all the obfuscation, all the nonsense. In my opinion, it clears the Marcel name. And then it goes a step further. Not only does it clear the Marcel name, it shows that what was picked up in that debris field was not pieces of a weather balloon. End of story. Stop lying to us. I'll go toe to toe with anybody on this at this point, literally. with all due respect, no name calling, no nonsense. Don't call me a conspiracy theorist, please. This is real investigative journalism. Have you ever talked to Linda Marcel, Jesse Marcel Jr.'s widow? Have you talked to Denise Marcel, his daughter? Have you talked to Dr. O'Connor, Jesse Marcel Jr.'s best friend? Did you do an interview with Jesse Marcel Jr. when he was alive? I did. It's real investigative journalism. And we're out in the field and we're at Roswell and we go to Montana, we interview these people. So, this is, and our budget, man, I mean, if there's anybody watching this thing that wants to help our ministry, to help what we do, just contribute. Because, most of the time people contribute $20, $100, whatever, and book sales and DVD sales, and we finance it. I think this trip, the Roswell films, is about the budget for that. And I'm not, 22 grand. We made 2 films for $22,000. Who does that? It's my late partner, Richard Shaw, used to call it guerrilla filmmaking. My new business partner, Gil Zimmerman, because Rick passed away several years ago. And Gil and I now have done, I think it's 5 or 6 films. Yeah, 6 films in the whole UFO series together. And Gil calls it gun and run, because that's exactly what we're doing, gun and running. It's guerrilla filmmaking. So it's the 3 of us. It's myself, it's Gil Zimmerman, and our sound man, Jim Peterson, and sometimes John Adam Hicks will be along with us to help with cameras. And we do a 2-camera shoot, and Jim runs all the sound, and I'm the host. I set up my camera, Gil's the cinematographer, and then I get all the stuff. I do the rough edit, throw it over to Gil. We come together and polish it, and then out it goes. I mean, we're competing with the History Channel, which has a budget of what? 100,000, 200,000 per show. I'm not making this stuff up. That's what they are. Huge crews, the whole deal. We don't have that. But we got into Hangar 84. We were in Hangar 84 in Roswell, New Mexico, and we saw where the debris was kept. How do we know that? Because Walter G. Haupt, in his deathbed affidavit, for lack of a better term, stated as fact. He went into Hangar 84. Then we have a new witness, which is not in the film. And this man came in when I was down at Lubbock, Texas. This guy said he really wanted to meet with me about his grandmother. His grandmother worked at Roswell for decades. And so he's driving his grandmom around, deathbed confession, a month before she passes away. And they're head by Hangar 84. And he goes, "Hey, Grandma, is this the building? Where did they take the bodies?" And the grandma goes, "Right over there," points to Hangar 84. And he thinks his grandma's kidding. She's not kidding. She said, "Yeah, they took the bodies there. They wouldn't let us go see them, but we knew that they were there. The whole base knew that they were there. No one talked about it. It was all kept sub rosa because we were told to keep quiet about it." So, I mean, that's just a thumbnail sketch. Obviously, we've got some time together, but these exoneration, I think, is about an hour and a half, and in the debris field, it's about an hour. So it's 2.5 hours of, and I can't possibly get into all of it, but I've given you the highlights of the Roswell films, and I hope that works.
Yes. So you are actually there. You're a boots on the ground kind of guy. So you actually was at the Roswell crash site. What was that like?
Well, it's in the middle of nowhere. I mean, if you
Still?
went there, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't even know unless you have a guide like Frank Kimbler. You wouldn't know where it is. There's nothing to see. There was a monument that someone erected on private property. Free range cattle. There's cow patties everywhere. There were no cows the day we were there. But when this happened in 47, the cow and sheep wouldn't even get near it. Wouldn't cross the field. There's an energy there. That energy still is there. On film, our batteries go out while we're filming. They're full, like 90%, and all of a sudden they just go, dink. I've seen this before. Happened in Peru with Chase Klodsky's batteries. I've seen it before. So it's high strangeness. These are not extraterrestrials. They are, in my opinion, interdimensional entities, which have a very nefarious agenda. Their mission is to deceive and confuse, and they are, if I can quote Jacques Vallée, messengers of deception, because that's exactly what they are.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you believe that there is a deliberate orchestration by the government entities behind the actions of David Koresh, the whistleblower? could his maybe disclosure be part of a strategic effort to maybe gradually introduce certain information and possibly be some kind of nefarious agenda like this great deception? I mean, it just seems kind of odd.
It is the coming great deception. There's no doubt in my mind at this point. I mean, I've been banging this drum for decades. You know, my first book came out, Nephilim, The Truth is Here on UFOs. That was a novel. That's 1999, right? You know, we're looking at, 25 years ago, right? That's what it is, 25 years ago. But the research started in 1990. And the research, I became a Christian in 1980. For 10 years, all I did was I was a worship leader. I studied the Bible continually, constantly. And then in 1990, the Lord just went, wake up. Remember what you used to be? I was in the New Age before I became a Christian. I had a guru. I read Carlos Castaneda's books. I believed in reincarnation. I believed everything about New Age. I mean, I believe these were our space brothers. And I became a Christian in 1980. And, the Holy Spirit began to take me out of the occult world, and the demons are trying to, get me back. And I'm going, no, I'm not doing that. It was very intense for about 3 years. Very, very, very intense. And now I consider myself a Christian apologist in some ways. And I'm boasting here, and I'll admit that I'm boasting, but glory to the King. It's not me. He's raised me up for this. Go figure. It's, Elmer Fudd right here. Just call me Mr. Fudd, because that's sometimes that's how I feel. But the Lord gives us favor. Like when we got into building 84, there was a guy. So we're with a Roswell tour group. We rented the bus and the tour guide. So it's just us in the bus, nobody else. Okay. We're all in the bus together, but it's our little film crew. Chuck Zukowski's there, Frank Kimbler's there, Gil Zimmerman, Jim Peterson, and the driver. That's it. So we're driving around, and he pulls next to Hangar 84. There's a big chain link fence that goes around it. The public doesn't go in. You can't go in. So, I'm bummed. And I go, well, there's a guy smoking a cigarette on the other side of the fence. He's one of the guys working in Hangar 84. So I run up to him and I go, hey, man, we're a real small film company from California. Can we come in? Can you get us in? He goes, yeah, come to the front entrance. Let me see what I can do. So we go running up to the front entrance. Everybody's going like, cameras are jiggling and everything. And now we're in the foyer, and I'm on the phone with Bull. That's the guy's nickname. I'm on the phone with Bull, who's the head guy overseeing Hangar 84. And you'll see me in the film. I go like this, because I go, all we want to do is come in. So Bull comes down about 20 minutes later. He takes us into a conference room. We're interviewing him. Then I go, hey, will you take us in? He goes, sure. And there's a shot where I'm like this, with my mouth open in Hangar 84. Look, I've been watching this stuff since I was a kid. And here I am in Hangar 84. And it looks exactly like it did in 1947. Yeah, there's been repair and upgrades, but it's the same building. And the two huge metal doors. There's one shot where you see me by the doors, and then it's just mind-boggling, utterly mind-boggling. We're in Hangar 84, and we know from Walter G. Hopp that's where the wreckage was. That's where they stored everything. And in the back, probably where the bodies were. They may have even, we don't know what, did the autopsy happen there? I don't think so. And Dennis Baltazar doesn't think so. But they might have been stored back there, because it's a real small room and it's different than the hangar. But we don't know, But we know that Walter G. Hout did see them. So, it's real boots on the ground investigative journalism. And this is, you mentioned David Grush. You've got two facets. This is conjecture on my part. You have two facets in government. You've got the old school that doesn't want any of this out. Enter Admiral Ryder a couple of weeks ago. Nothing to see here. And you've got the whistleblowers. You've got Commander David Fravor. You got Luis Elizondo. You got Chris Mellon. You got Nick Pope. All those guys are ex-military. And then you got David Grush, ex-military. So everybody's in the same club. We're all in the same club. And Grush, Nancy Mace is interviewing him in Congress. He's under oath. Okay? You lie, you're in trouble. Now, the way to get around that is you're not lying. You're telling the truth as you know it, because you've only been given this much information. They compartmentalize everything, which is why Grush doesn't get the whole story, because everything's compartmentalized. Only a very few people at the top of the pyramid know what's going on. Oop, I just did a Masonic hand signal. I can just see now everybody, oh my gosh, Hellraiser Mason, he's sending secret signs. Oh, I can't believe it. No, I'm not. Wake up. So here's the deal. Grush looks right up at Nancy Mace, right at her, and says, yes, we recovered Crash. And then she goes, Crash discs. And she goes, did you recover? Were there any bodies recovered in these crash discs? He goes, yes, we recovered biologics. And she asks, were these human biologics? And he looks right up at her and goes, these were non-human biologics. I fall out of my chair when I heard that. I went, king. And then Grush talks about that these are interdimensional beings. Welcome to my wheelhouse. Welcome to what I've been saying for decades. These are the fallen ones. And this is the coming great deception. And when it happens, everything changes. Everything changes.
Do you think the U.S. government is starting to disclose this UAP for that very reason? Do you think they're kind of behind it?
Well, you got the Grushes, you got the Commander Fravers, Luis Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, Nick Pope, and David Grush, and others who come on the record and telling that this phenomenon is real. We're not making this stuff up. It's on radar. Here's the photographs. Quit lying to us. That's one facet. They're trying to push this agenda forward. The other facet saying that's Admiral Ryder. Nothing to see here. It's all swamp gas reflecting the planet Venus and caught up on a weather balloon, being towed by a flock of geese. You're a conspiracy theorist. That's what you are. And that's what they do. Let's sit down and talk. No, they name call. You're a racist. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're on drugs. You're ADD. Like they went after David Grush because he's high functioning autism. Oh, he's fine. It's just like typical ad hominem attacks. Why don't we talk about the evidence? Why don't we talk about the tic tac shaped object that Commander David Fravor saw? And here's the film of it, by the way. And Fravor looks right at the camera, and he's within, he's viewing this thing. That thing, here's Fravor's plane. That thing jams his radar, comes up like this, jams his radar. That is an act of war. And then it shoots away like a bullet out of a gun. Come on. He's not making this up.
Exactly. Do you think those Tic Tacs are from the same origins as what was found at Roswell?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, this is nothing from the Earth. This is something else. It's from them, and it's part of the coming great deception. And it is coming. And when it hits, every life as we know it changes completely. And I have some theories on what that might look like.
I'd like to know some of those theories.
Well, I got this from Mondo Gonzalez and Jeff Van Hatten, but they also were building on my saying that I came out years before. We go up, they come down. We go up, they show up. So they're talking, Mondo and Jeff, about the rapture and the type of the rapture. And they're saying, well, when Elijah ascends to heaven, Elisha down here sees him, watches him go up. He doesn't disappear. He goes up, and Elisha sees him go up. When Jesus ascends into a cloud, by the way, very important, into a cloud, how many disciples are there? The 11 are there for a minute. Do you really think that Mary Magdalene isn't there too? And Mary the mother? Are you kidding me? They're not letting this guy out of their sight. So is it 13, 14, 20, 100, 500 people? We have no idea. Disciples are there. So we don't know. I personally believe that there's a whole bunch of people there. What happens? They watch him go up. And where does he go up to? He ascends into a cloud. 1917, the Fatima apparition. It had been raining all day. The sun finally comes out. Then in front of the sun comes a cloud like this. Let's pretend that light behind me is the sun. So boom, there's the cloud. Out of that cloud comes what? A spinning disc. How do we know that? Because eyewitnesses gave eyewitness testimony to Father Fiera, the parish priest, in 1917. Those handwritten documents are sealed away in the Vatican, but Fina di Armada got in to read them into a tape recorder so we know what they say. And the witnesses said, I looked up and saw a dull silver disc. Now, what does that sound like to you in 1917? There were no words for flying saucer or UFO. That doesn't happen until mid-century, basically with Kenneth Arnold, 1947, flying saucer. Going back to the biblical prophetic narrative, when Elisha, his servant, Gehazi, we're surrounded by the Syrian army, we're going to die. Lord opened his eyes. Gehazi goes out. What does he see? I looked up over the Syrian army and saw chariots of fire. What is a chariot of fire? Gehazi, thousands of years ago, is looking at something that he's never seen before. There's nothing in his grid system, nothing in his paradigm, nothing in his vocabulary, nothing in his mindset to interpret what he's seeing. The fastest vehicle at that time is what? It's a chariot. It's a vehicle. What is light? There are no electric lights. There's fire. There's torches. What does he say? I looked up and saw a chariot of fire. What is that? That's a UFO. And those are the good guys. Oh, what do angels need? Why do angels need craft and fire out at all? I'm all so confused. What is Ezekiel 1? What do you think? What do you think Father God's riding around in? You have a cherubim there, but it's a vehicle. And he's taking, Gary Stearman calls it, he's taking the 57 Chevy out for a cruise. We both laughed hysterically when Gary came up with that, but that's exactly what's going on. There's technology in the Bible, and because Christianity never talks about it, but churches never talk about it, the people were dumbed down. I'll just give you one. I've already got 6 or 7 or 8 chapters written for this book, but before that book, the Lord has redirected my steps, the rungs on the ladder of disclosure. And I'm really close to finishing that. So this is from the book, which will be released after the rungs on disclosure. It's called Supernatural Technology in the Bible. Adam and Eve get booted out of the garden. God sends 2 cherubim to stand in the east gate, which immediately begs the question for people like me, who are way too curious, what happens to the north, south, and west gates? Why only is the east gate have to be covered? What don't we know? What isn't, the Holy Spirit revealing to us? Can we have a paragraph, please? The answer to that is no. But what he does give us is something which is incredibly telling. He says that God places a flaming sword between the cherubim that turns every which way. What is a flaming sword? A lightsaber? I mean, you tell me. See, when I hold that to people, they go, "Oh, a flaming sword every which way." What is that? The cherubim are not wielding it. I mean, people can tap dance around that till they're blue in the face. There's technology there. The book of Enoch tells us that fallen angels came and gave mankind technology. It's there. But unfortunately, we are so dumbed down supernaturally and have this truncated view of the supernatural that we don't understand when that flaming sword that turns every which way, that is advanced technology that goes. The cherubim are not wielding it. But Adam and Eve know that they can't get back in because of that flaming sword. Lightsaber? You tell me.
That's pretty cool. It does sound like a lightsaber to me.
I agree.
Yeah.
So here's what I think is going to happen. Mondo and Jeff are talking about the rapture. So Elijah goes up and Elisha sees him go up. Jesus goes up and the disciples see him go up. The 2 witnesses, this is the book of Revelation, who were killed and their bodies lay on the streets of Jerusalem. The whole world watches them. Now that's what I call a supernatural boom. Now, How's the whole world going to watch them 2,000 years ago? Well, that's never going to happen, right? Oh, yes, it will, because the entire planet is connected via the satellite network, the internet. The whole world will watch them go up. What do? They ascend where? Into the clouds. There it is again, those clouds. Here's what I think happens. Here's the big cloud. The rapture of the church happens. Here's the rapture. Here are all the people, millions of people going up. Okay? Millions of people going up. Actually, let me do this again. Hold on. Get my prop ready here. So here's the deal. Millions of people going up. Here's the cloud. Everyone's watching. What's going on? What's happening? Where are these people going? Oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. And they disappear. And then out of that cloud comes a disc, mile-wide disc. And they will say, the Space Brothers will tell us that we took these people off the planet because they weren't ready for the paradigm shift. And that would deceive even the elect, if that were possible. And we just put this together in the last 3 or 4 months. And it's based on a phrase that I came up with. We go up, they come down. We go up, they show up. And then Mondo and Jeff take that, and Elijah, Jesus, the two witnesses. And then I take that and go back to Fatima. It's always the cloud. It's always the cloud. And here we are.
That's pretty cool. Marcel had a replica or a construction or reconstruction made based on his memory, kind of like a rectangular shape.
The I-beam.
He found these inscriptions that kind of resembled hieroglyphs or Enochian writings.
Yeah.
What was that?
Well, we don't know what that is. It's all from memory. He's just a kid. It looked like something out of like hieroglyphics. It looked that way, but we don't know what it was. Number one. Number two, he's 11, 12 years old, 13 years old, whatever. He's just a kid, and everything's carted back up and sent to the base. It was incredibly light, incredibly strong. Other people talk about the thin metal that Jesse Marcel talks about this. It was like 2 foot by 1.5 foot, and you couldn't bend it. You couldn't dent it. And yet it was as thin as the paper on a pack of cigarettes. That's really thin.
And they found other metals that they could actually ball up, and it would open up like a...
Yeah, and they would drop it, and when it hit the table, it would spread out like water. We're looking, again, this is what, it's not extraterrestrial. I can't say that enough. It's not. It's interdimensional. These are the fallen ones. And was the saucer deliberately crashed? David Flynn believes it might have been. And David and I, but when he was alive, we talked about this. He wrote a paper which stood the entire UFO community on its head when he deciphered the Crabwood glyph, decades after 1947. And that glyph had a disc and a gray alien's head holding a disc. And in that disc, this was all in a crop circle. The crop was laid down in a very, very unique, precise way. Lucy Pringle, who was a ufologist and a crop circle researcher, had only seen that type of weave one other time. And this woman knows her stuff. This is when they were taking light, small helicopters up. It's before the days of the drone. Now we just fly our drone over stuff. You don't need a helicopter. But Lucy was doing this, thank God she was, and she was photographing all this. And so David looked at all the images and numbers in this disc, and Matt, see, the language of the fallen one is always mathematics. Don't ask me why, but the dragon Satan is very obsessed with math and ley lines. And so when David Flynn decoded this, and you can go on the paper, go on the internet, David Flynn Roswell paper Crabwood glyph. It'll come right up there. You can just read it for yourself. It's mind-boggling because those figures tie into 1947 and then the nautical miles between where the Crabwood glyph goes to Roswell, New Mexico. Is that deliberate? Boy, you bet your boots it's deliberate. Absolutely, all day long. Messengers of deception. Messengers of deception. That's what they are.
Do you think these aliens are demons?
I think they're fallen angels, and I think the demons work with them. So we need to talk about the hierarchy. Fallen angels are the angels that rebelled with the dragon, i.e., Satan. Demons are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. The Nephilim are the progeny of fallen angels and human women, creating a hybrid being known as the Nephilim. When the flood of Noah comes and destroys the Nephilim, they become disembodied spirits, i.e., the demons that roam the earth. They are earthbound. They need a body to inhabit. And that's where the grays come in. Because the grays, we've got too many people. I got 3 witnesses on this. The grays are like chairs being stacked up. They're suits. They're biological constructs. They're avatars. The demons can inhabit them and then move in this dimension. They need something. They need a body to inhabit in this dimension.
So they won't. It makes sense. It does. So these demons that uses these alien bodies as like an avatar, when they see the aliens die, the demons aren't really dying. They just kind of float out of the body.
Yeah, it's just a suit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you can deliberately crash them. I remember talking to David Flynn about this. And you got to understand that this is years ago. This is probably 20 years ago, something like that, right? And I mean, I read all David's stuff in the 90s. I mean, I used to go to Watcher website all the time, and which is why the late Richard Shaw and I called the series Watchers in tribute to David Flynn. I go out of my way to give credit where credit is due. So many researchers, oh, I discovered this, and blah. And you're just standing on, all these different people, and I always try to give credit. David was a genius, and I'm 73. David died, I think, at 48 or 49, right? He was younger than I am, but I'm 73 years old, and somehow the Lord's allowed me to live and continue what I'm doing. Thank God He has. I'm in relatively really good health. I work out 3 times a week and run 3 times a week. So, I watch what I eat. I watch my intermittent fast pretty much every day, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm boasting here. But I remember talking to David and coming up to the line and then running away. Cognitive dissonance. Because when you get there, you go, I can't deal with this. Because there's nothing in our wheelhouse. There's nothing in my grid system to deal with this. And I get David on the phone and go, David, is it possible that the grays are some sort of biological suit avatar? And this is why they can crash them all day long. Who cares, right? And David, and I said, it's taken me months to actually voice this because it's so bizarre. And David said on the phone, he goes, LA, I got there too. And when I got there, I had the same reaction you did. You come up to the line and you go, this is too weird. And you run away because no one else has ever gotten there before you. Basically, you're the first guy to get there. And you're going, what do I do with this? It's just like the cattle mutilations. I don't know whether, Gil Zimmerman and I are the first people to put it together in our film, but we might be, because I've never heard it from anybody else, including Linda Milton Howe or Chuck Zukowski. When you mutilate a cow, the first thing that happens is all the blood is drained. This is number 6 in our UFO series, the darkest film I've ever worked on. We call it the calling card of darkness. It's that dark. The cattle is taken, the cow is taken, all the blood is drained from it. The sex organs are cored out, the anus is cored out, the eye is cored out, the flesh around the jaw is cored out, the tongue is excised from way back here. Sometimes the pericardium, the heart, is removed, but the pericardium, according to Linda Milton Howe and others, is still intact. How is it possible? It's not possible from what we know. Here's what people don't know, and this is what I believe we put together. Bovine blood, the blood from a cow, can be used and is medically approved by the AMA in human transfusions. Got that? You can take the blood of a cow and you can use it in a human transfusion, blood transfusion. When you abduct a woman, when they abduct a woman, which is kidnapping, and then they rape her and she's pregnant, in the 3rd month of that pregnancy, they, the nefarious space brothers, the fallen ones, come back and they take that entity, they take that hybrid from the woman. How do we know? Too many witnesses. It's in our film on abductions. Watch it. lamarzulli.net, streaming.lamarzulli.net. It's number 5 on abductions, number 6 on cattle mutilations. So we put the two together. And this is what's unique. We may be like I said, this might be a first. I've never heard anybody else say it. Maybe there is somebody out there. I don't know. But right now I'm taking credit for it. Okay. And they take that entity from the woman who's 3 months pregnant. That child, that entity, that hybrid cannot live outside the womb. They take the blood and the genetic pieces of material from that cow, and they create an artificial womb. And they place that entity in the artificial womb. And so it comes to maturity. And I have said that at conferences, and I've had women break down in tears, and I understand why. I totally get it. And this is, you see, what people don't understand, everything that we've been talking about, and I got to go soon, everything I've been talking about stems from the Genesis 3:15 narrative. And I'll leave you with this. Genesis 3:15 is the gateway to the entire Bible. If we don't understand Genesis 3:15, we're clueless. Might as well just close the book and go away, because you'll never understand it. You'll always be scratching your head, and you'll always have the wrong interpretation when you come to Genesis 6, the Tower of Babel, Abraham and the kings, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, the mandate which comes down to wipe everybody out in the promised land, Daniel 2, verse 43, which states their seed will mingle with the seed of men, who the Antichrist is. When Jesus says it'll be like the days of Noah, you won't have any idea what's going on. And I say that with all the love in my heart, but you won't. So if you want to know the truth, Genesis 3:15, and I am standing on the shoulders of Gary Stearman, elder brother Gary Stearman. Gary will be 86 this year. I love that man. He's just always an elder brother. He's hard to penetrate sometimes, but he's an elder brother. He's a wonderful, loves the Lord, loves prophecy, looks forward to the Lord's coming, as we all do. So here's the deal. And again, I stand on the shoulders of Gary Stearman. Over a decade ago, he came out. We were at the Nephilim Mounds conference, and Gary came out and led the conference off. It's all about the seed. What do you mean the seed? Genesis 3:15. Jesus is in the garden. Adam and Eve are over here. They just blew it. The dragon, Satan, is over here. And the pre-incarnate Jesus goes to the dragon, your seed, your offspring will be at war, at enmity with the seed, the offspring of the woman. The proto-evangelion, the Messiah, will crush your head. You will bruise his heel. That's it. That's it. What seed? Oh, angels can't reproduce, but they're not, because they're not given in marriage, blah, blah, blah. Oh, really? Then what's Genesis 6? It certainly isn't the godly line of Seth going into the hoochie mamas of Cain. No, it's not. It's always B'nai Elohim, which always refers to the angels. What does Jude tells us? The angels in heaven left their first estate and did what? The unthinkable. And likewise, in similar ways, Sodom and Gomorrah. I won't even argue it anymore. Believe what you want to believe, folks. I mean, I really won't. Some of these, I have 18 degrees after my name, and they get it there and they try to tell us that the Sethite theory is the true one. The Sethite theory wasn't even invented till the 4th century. And it was invented, by this guy from Africa, Julius Africanus, and then Augustine and the whole deal where, so there's no supernatural, nothing to see here. There's no seed war. But then you explain Genesis 6 to me. Who are the Nephilim? Then if Noah and all of his sons are pure in all of our generations, then the God of the Old Testament is a capricious, genocidal, maniacal, just crazy God, and I don't want anything to do with him. Because all the time he's just killing people. Nope, not buying it. But the moment we plug the Nephilim in Genesis 3:15, no, God's not maniacal. God's not capricious. Father God is loving. You're looking at a seed war. And Genesis 3:15 tells us that seed war is about to manifest. Someone coming from the seed of the woman. And Satan almost wins in the first volley. Everybody but 8 people were destroyed. Why do you think Noah is sealed in the ark. Lot is removed from Sodom before the judgment. These are types of the pre-tribulation rapture. Before judgment, Noah's taken out, and so is Lot. We're not appointed to wrath. We're not appointed to judgment. The judgment is for the wicked, and we won't get into that. But that's basically where we are. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah, I've got to go, but it's been great talking to you guys.
It was great talking to you too. I hope I can talk to you again soon. Maybe
Sure,
you can come
absolutely.
back.
And folks, when you purchase a DVD from us, right, guess what we do? We keep the lights on in our studio, and we get to make the next films. And, we run on a shoestring budget. It's guerrilla filmmaking at its best. Check it out. Roswell 1, Roswell 2, Exoneration in the Debris Field, lamarzulli.net or streaming.lamarzulli.net. You can go there right now. Streaming at lamarzulli.net for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks. You can watch the film. So check it out, folks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. And that brings us to an end of another episode of the Sensible Hippie podcast. A huge thank you to our guest, L.A. Marzulli, for diving deep into the Roswell incident and sharing those fascinating insights with us. And to all of my listeners, your support means the world to me. If you've enjoyed our journey today, please head over to your favorite podcast platform and leave a positive review. It helps more people to find us and join our growing Ohana. And to all of my YouTube Ohana, I cannot thank you so much for your support. I appreciate all your thumbs up, so keep giving me those thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to share. Your curiosity and your support make these conversations possible and ever so rewarding. Our Ohana is growing, and I want to thank you for that. Until the next time, keep your eyes to the sky, and remember, the truth just might be out there waiting for us to uncover it. So stay curious, and let's keep our Ohana growing. Until the next time, take care. Bye.
All this time we had to prove that we could stand here too. All the nights spent pushing through, fight for all we had to lose. Reaching out for something to pull us up to level ground. Oh, I can see it now, I can see it now. We're on the edge of a moment, been out of our depth, now we're diving in. The light up ahead, we're running to it. We're on the edge, now we're diving in. Stay a while and you'll see that every broken dream fit together